Oh, we live in a glamorous mansion with napalm in the walls. Waterfalls fall like intestines for flying gunning goals. We live in a glamorous mansion with flascos in the walls. My bedroom window looks out on crucified on thrones. Filled fingers in a flasco found biblical rains when the midnight mansion known. Filled fingers in a flasco found biblical rains when the midnight mansion known. All in the fires, the children up your walls where you gotta go. News is on from the stars, tell me yes or no. Nothing has trapped your head. Would you rather be hopeless again? When you finish, I'm burning at the mouth where you gotta run. French windows passing out, drinking all alone. Nothing has trapped your head. Would you rather be hopeless again?
Show. Fucking jamming out. We were just chilling out to the Blood Brothers. A little bit of a deep cut. Nausea shreds your head. That was off the Set Fire to the Face on Fire 7-inch. And that's going to be a little bit of a precursor and an intro to a little bit of the chaos that we're going to be dipping into on today's episode. So as usual, you know, I try and keep everything a little bit contextual. I wanted to play something a little bit abstract, a little bit more challenging. As a lead into some of the awesome music we're going to be checking out on today's episode. So I had an opportunity to check out a great live show in the city just a couple weeks ago. It was at the Beat Kitchen, and we had a couple of awesome Chicago bands, some bands that we've talked about a bunch on the show before, and some New York bands that were new to me, and they definitely killed it. So we're going to be checking out some Breathing Light, Manika, Big Ups, and Absolutely Not. And that was a Beat Kitchen show from just a few weeks back. It was not well attended, and everybody that did not show up missed a fantastic evening out. How you doing, though, Jake?
I'm good over here. Just trying to get our audio right.
Well, that's all right. It's all right. We're fucking chilling. This is a little bit of a evening episode in preparation for the Riot Fest weekend, which I'll be out and about covering, and I'll definitely have a Riot Fest post-mortem coming up for you guys in the next episode. We're going to see how that goes. That'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. But before we get ahead of ourselves, we are drinking, of course, you know, local. And I gotta say, R.I.P. Baderbrau. We featured them a bunch on this show over the past year, and I think this might be the last time we'll be doing it because they filed for bankruptcy, and the beers we are currently drinking are out of production. So good luck if you want to get some of this. But
R.I.P. man, Baderbrau, just down the street from where we're recording right now, and yeah, kind of crazy. They just want the whole thing is shut down. They stripped it off for parts. It's not the first time, too, right?
No,
They
this
shut
is
down a
their
few
second
times.
bankruptcy, so it's unfortunate to see him go. But like a phoenix, I hope they rise again at some point soon. Over the course of the last year, I think we've done the Billy Goat IPA. I think we did Southside Pride, and I also think we did Baderbrau Original. And today we're drinking 5-Star Hell's Lager. Very good. It's a 4.8 ABV. It's got a little bit of a tang to it, a little bit more of a bite than your typical ale or pilsner. But again, very good stuff. It's unfortunate that Baderbrau is not with us anymore, so we couldn't enjoy a little bit more of this. I think I literally have the last 12-pack out of the liquor store that this was procured from. So it's unfortunate, but cheers to Baderbrau.
Yeah, leave it up to Steve to bring it through.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. Like I said, this is definitely a local brewery that I dug over the last several years. This is just a good all-around Chicago brand, and it's a little bit of a shame to see him go. But we'll give him a moment of silence while I take a big swig.
Get a big swig. And my bad, guys. We've been dealing with some weird mics issues throughout the last few days, and I'm just trying to get through it. But we're just coming through good right now. Hopefully we're real crispy for you. And yeah, welcome to Steve Breit Rock Discovery Show, man. My bad. I was preoccupied. So yeah, the Baderbrau thing is very interesting. What was the reason? Were they just not selling enough of this stuff? I mean, it seems like they were doing a good job of like recycled cans, and they were wrapping them instead of like painting on them and stuff like that. So they're saving money where they could, but it's tough out here. I think I read a story where they said like the amount of breweries that popped up in Chicago is really kind of like they might have grown too fast when there wasn't a lot of competition. And
I think you're right. I think, at least from my perspective, I think that's where it kind of fell. Unlike other shows, we've got our other cities. Chicago is definitely a beer town, and there is we're kind of at a saturation point with awesome microbrews and such a selection in the city. And just like what you were saying, I think they got a little too big for their britches a little too quickly, because what about less than a year ago they opened their own tap room, so they were really kind of opening it up and trying to chase the bigger breweries in the city, the Goose Islands, the Revolutions.
Do you think they got caught up in that? Like, because that was only a year ago that they opened that.
Yeah, I think
the same thing happened to them the first time. Like they opened like a bigger space, and then they
it's a little bit of the rat race, in a saturated market. So it's like, what's that balance?
It's like you're not going to beat Goose Island, you're not going to beat Lagunitas. They got too much money behind them. So
and Goose Island, for all intents and purposes, Goose Island, I think they're bought by Miller, so they're not a micro. They're big.
They still do have that nice little West Side.
I'm not calling them out. I'll fuck with their shit at the brew house.
Yeah, I remember they did the blue collar, no collar ale for Chance the Rapper when he did Pitchfork a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was actually a decent beer. I don't know what happened to it.
But on top of the profuse amount of Chicago microbrews in the city, and then they're popping up. There's a large contingent of them up on the north side, but on top of that, you've got the suburban breweries. You've got the Northwest Indiana breweries. Just like a couple weeks ago, we were chatting about and drinking 18th Street breweries. Oh So Pretty. I mean, they're just over in Hammond, Indiana,
which is technically not a 18th Street beer as we know it, not our 18th Street.
Yeah, and then just a couple weeks ago we were checking out Oh So Pretty, another great microbrew, and then on top of that, you've got stuff like Off Color, who are opening. The Off Color Brewing, I think, is a West Suburban brewery, and they just opened the Mousetrap, the brew pub in the city.
I feel like that would actually maybe be the move, right? Like those suburban breweries, like Two Brothers and stuff, they've stayed around for a long time. It's probably because they're in the surbs, honestly, like paying that extra cost to be downtown.
Competition.
I mean, Baderbrau's in the South Loop, and that's an area that's being built up so much. It had, kind of. The more you talk about it, I think the more it seems like inevitability that wasn't going to stick there. But it's too bad,
Yeah.
But let's move on from the beer, man. You're in a tiny T-shirt today.
Yeah, yeah. So this one leads up obviously into our song, and I gotta say, we've gone. This is episode 27, and I haven't doubled up on a shirt yet. So, but
Episode
this
20.
one,
How many weeks has there been in the year? Are we? I think we might be almost at that.
we're almost. There's been, I think we missed maybe 3 weeks.
We're doing better than Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, there was a couple of weeks in the spring and early summer that we had family issues and other things
look, man,
going
if John
on.
Oliver can take a week off. We can take a week off.
Yeah, hardest working man in Chicago podcast. But no, no, where was I? So the shirt. This one definitely. I had to dig in the storage in the back of the apartment for this one. This was let's say it was unarchived out of the deep storage.
Cold storage.
Yeah. So this is my my tub ring shirt. Circa 2000 to 2001, I believe I picked this up at the Fireside Bowl back in the day when they used to still put on shows over there. And obviously, this is a precursor to that awesome Chicago band. They were big in the early 2000s. Definitely, kind of following that that experimental post-rock vibe that was. It was a torch that was started by Frank Zappa and picked up by Mr. Bungle and later carried on by Tub Ring. So, you've got a little bit of a lineage and a heritage with that. Okay. But, like I said, Tub Ring was, I think, big in the city in the early 2000s. They got picked up by Invisible Records. They put out a few more records. They had a good run, and then they broke it off. I think in the late aughts, but just earlier this year they came out with a new record, so definitely check them out. This one, though, the track we're going to be checking out is a personal favorite of mine, so we're going to be listening to Tub Ring with God Hates Astronauts off of their Drake Equation LP that dips back into the city for a while. Oh, so, this was one of those bands, and like I said, just like Blood Brothers, the first track we listened to, Blood Brothers, Tub Ring, this kind of gets the mind in the vibe of some of the bands we're going to be checking out later. I was really impressed with the New York band Big Ups and the Chicago band Absolutely Not that we'll be digging into. Both of those bands really fucking cool, and all of these bands that I'm talking about have that awesome, experimental aesthetic. This is definitely not pop hits. This is definitely not radio friendly stuff. This is stuff that, I think, somebody that likes a little bit more adventurous music is going to be definitely vibing into. So why don't we dip on into it? So this is Tub Ring with God Hates Astronauts.
All right. It's Mild Sauce Radio, Steve Breit Rap Discovery Show. This is Tub Ring.
All right, we're back. We are experiencing some audio technical difficulties. Sorry about that. Um, um, well, moving on from that, we definitely, like I said, it was musically and stylistically, this is all kind of the same ilk. So, if you guys recall, and we'll try and get this fixed up for us, in the post edit. But, it was the moving on to the feature of the show. This was a very fucking cool show that was literally a last minute ad in my world. I think I was heading out for vacation literally the next morning, and this was on my radar. I was like, oh shit, all right, let's go check this shit out. So stopped over to the Beat Kitchen, and like I said, it was a undersold show, and it was unfortunate because this was one of those sets. Like I said, there was 2 Chicago bands, 2 New York bands. One of the Chicago bands, Breathing Light, I'm a huge fan of, so I was super stoked to see them. They were actually the draw for me to get in the door for this set, and I was definitely not disappointed. Not to give short shrift to any of the bands. Being in a scenario where you go to a show and you're there to see one band of 4, and the band that you want to see is the first band. It's always a good night when everybody else is like raising expectations over the course of the episodes or over the course of the show. So, Breathing Light killed it. They've got a new record called Cold Static World, so they were playing some new tracks from that, which was definitely appreciated. And I had low expectations. So over the course of the evening, Manika, Big Ups, and Absolutely Not were just, it thrilled me. Every band was better than the one before, and not to give short shrift to any of the bands. It was just, like I said, it was low expectations. I came in and it just was like pleasantly surprised by everybody coming out, and they all fucking were great. Like I said, Breathing Light, they've been around. They've been a staple in Chicago for like the last 10 years or so. So it was good to see them out with some new music. They were great. And actually, I had we all have day jobs. We all got to pay the bills. So I had to get to the show a little bit late, and they were wrapping up their set, and they were literally nice enough to play one extra song because I showed up and was kind of screaming, "Hey, a big fan, play one more," and they were like, "Oh, all right, let's do it." So much love and much appreciation to Breathing Light for dropping an extra track for my account. And like I said, they were the anchor that got me into the show. They were the main expectation. So just hearing that extra song, had at least in my world, paid for the entry fee. I was happy at that point, and everything else was gravy, and all that gravy was fucking delicious. So
That's amazing. It's a very Steve Breit story show. But at the same time, we're trying to get this music working for you. And
yeah, a bit of a weird afternoon. We're having some audio difficulties on the track listings, but no, if I can expound on it a little bit more, like I said, Breathing Light, they're in the city a lot. They're playing around. They're playing around a little bit more these days because they've got a new record they're touring around with. So if you get an opportunity to see them, definitely check them out. The next band, it was a band called Manika. They were NYC, I believe, from Brooklyn. I had never heard of them before, but I had actually met up with a couple other friends who were going to that show, and one of the guys, Johnny, he was definitely there for Big Ups, and it was blank slate for me. So, like I said, it's always great, Manika, and it's always great to see, somebody passionate about something, and you're like, yeah, all right, man, I trust you. Let's check this shit out. And then when it pays off, it's just fucking really good. I believe Manika and Big Ups are both on the same label. I don't have that in my notes exactly which one that is, but they were awesome. And then we wrapped up with Breathing Light. Shit, my bad. Sorry, notes are all scribbled and rough. Absolutely Not was the Chicago headliner that wrapped up the bill. So again, I'd heard their name around in the city, but I hadn't seen them before, and I was definitely glad I did by the end of the set. They were very cool. And as always, you know, these smaller shows, the band hangs around, and I had an opportunity to chat with everybody. Everybody was very cool, very chill. You know, much love to everybody. It was all good, you know. So
Definitely. Definitely.
How's the music situation? Do we have anything?
For some reason, we do not.
Well, do we want to give a new track a try?
That's what I have been trying to accomplish. Let's see here. Yeah, no, the whole world does not want to work right now. I'm getting barraged. Yeah.
We're getting
We'll
nothing.
be right back.
All right.